Up next on Inside the SCCA, it's a family affair. Welcome to episode 173 of Inside the SCCA. I'm Brian Belansky. Welcome to the show, everybody. It is our weekly tour around the SCCA. This week we're going to talk about road racing, and specifically Formula F, or Formula Ford if you're old like me. Talk about that a little bit with our guest, who I'm going to introduce here in just a second. Also want to do a little deep tease to next week. We have a brand new presenting sponsor for Inside the SCCA. I am really, really excited about announcing this and the partnership that we've got with this great organization out. It's a really good group of folks who are really into working with SCCA racers and helping them get their licenses. You might have an idea of who this guest or what type of group this guest might be, or this new presenting sponsor. I look forward to that. We're going to probably make that announcement next week. So starting next week, it'll be Inside the SCCA presented by fill in the blank. So, all right, let's get right to this week's show. Joining right now, Ricky Simpson, Formula F driver, Formula Ford driver from out here on the West Coast. Ricky, how you doing, my friend?
Good. How about you, Brian?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for hopping on with me. You and I have been trying to do this for almost 8 months, 9 months?
I think so. It's been a while. I know it's since last year at our Buttonwillow. I know we were talking about it at one of my races, but
Yep.
I'm glad to be here today. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm glad you're able to have this kind of thing available, the podcast. And again, thank you to the sponsors that have this as well.
Cool.
I'm very grateful to be here today. Thank you.
Well, we're happy to have you here. And but we start every show with the same question. You've watched some of the shows, so you know what's coming. And that question is, how did you get mixed up in this crazy sport that we all love?
So I actually started at the age of 4 years old. My dad put me in a go-kart. Did a couple of test days in that, and actually a local dirt track that we have here in Apple Valley, California. I did some speedway sprint car racing at Buttonwillow Raceway. Slowly kind of moved through the ranks, and as time grew, I then started actually in Formula Ford racing. At the age of 13, I actually got my license, and so I remember I see photos and stuff on the wall of my dad racing, and I see the Formula cars, and it looked pretty cool. And so I'm like, Dad, what if we tried, some pavement racing, maybe some Formula car racing too? He's like, well, it'd be kind of hard at the age of 13. I don't think anyone will give you your license at that age. And so I actually called, I looked around and I called Vara, and they said, yeah, you could be 13 for open wheel to come get your racing license. And so I talked to my dad about it. He's like, well, you know what? If you want to start racing, you're at the age. Why don't you start making the phone calls and start getting this thing prepared? And if you really want to do it, you got to put it together. So I'm like, all right, well, I really want to go Formula car racing. So I made all the calls, and I actually was able to get my license at the age of 13 years old. And I did a couple of races here and there in the year 2021 when I got my license, and 2022. And recently, last year in 2023, I actually moved to SCCA on the West Coast. And I've been doing a lot of SCCA races, and now we're hoping to do a full year of the Formula Ford the Series Championship here on the West Coast as well.
Very cool, very cool. So now, you said you grew up watching your dad race. What did your dad race, or what does your dad race?
So my dad actually stopped racing, and back then he actually started off in go-karts, and he did actually a lot of racing. He like I said, did the go-karts. He then did Formula Ford, Formula 2000, Toyota Atlantic at the time, and then he did some midgets and a couple other race cars here and there. And so it's really cool to know he got to do all that stuff. And he works great, not only as a crew chief, but as a driver coach too, from all his experience.
All right, so I always ask this question. Now, Dad would work as a driver's coach with you?
Yes, he would.
Okay, so I have a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
My teenager doesn't often listen to me very well. And the last person for most things that my teenager wants to take advice from is Dad. So, how is the dynamic between you and Pop when he comes and says, all right, Ricky, you're doing this wrong, or maybe we should do this differently? Do you take that? Do you challenge him? What's the situation there?
Honestly, it kind of depends. If it's a track that we've been to, and I've driven it, I'm like, no, Dad, I don't think so. I've driven it like this before. Let's take a quick look at the data. And sometimes he's right, sometimes he's wrong. But sometimes, yeah, I will listen to him, and it does work out in his favor. And sometimes it works out in my favor. But honestly, it's just a little bit like cat and mouse back and forth of whoever's right. But either way, he's still a really good driving coach. I'm very thankful for him.
Now, you said look at the data. When Dad was racing, did he have data to look at?
When he first started racing, he didn't. And so, I think back then I'm like, dang, like that's crazy. And so I'm very grateful that now as a racing driver, I have data to look at and a driver coach as well. And so it really gives me an advantage. And like I said, I'm really thankful that I have that.
Yeah, back when I started, and probably when your dad started, we didn't have driver's coaches. We didn't have data to look at. We didn't have really video to look at especially of our own cars. The cameras were the size of our heads, so that wasn't going to work out so well. And we didn't have sim racing, even the home type sims like a lot of us use, the iRacing or the Assetto Corsa and that kind of stuff. We just and so the only time we got to learn was if we could afford a test day and or on race weekends. So I always kind of, not giggle, but I'm always, shaking my head that, gosh, if I had all the opportunities that the kids have these days, I'd have been an IndyCar driver or whatever the case may be. Probably not, nonetheless. But you guys have the opportunity to take advantage of all this stuff that's out there. And does Dad ever say, "Oh gosh, I wish I would have had some of this stuff to use when I was coming up"?
He does, yeah. Both my uncle, he did a lot of racing as well. And so they both wish that they had some of the data or like the sim racing that we have nowadays. But honestly, they're so thankful. And I know me and my younger brother who also race, we're very thankful as well that we have these things. And I mean, it's really good to build ourselves off of each other. So my little brother, Stevie, he just recently started doing Formula cars. And he's pretty quick. And so the data, it's really nice to have. Trailbreak.com. A guy named Matt there, he hooked us up with some new dashes and stuff and great prices, really nice guy. He's very helpful. And the data, it's helped us tremendously. I mean, me and my brother are able to build off of each other, especially at new racetracks. I may struggle in one corner, but he's really good in it, and then vice versa for the next turn. So it's really good that we could talk about this with one another. And like I said, go over the data as well, and it really builds us as drivers, and I'm very grateful for it.
All right, I have to smile. You just graduated from high school, you just started college, and without any prompting, you already dropped your first sponsor mention in the show. So great job with that. I love that, and pretty cool. So let's go back a little bit, because there was a pretty fun story when I first met you, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. But you said you started in karts. How old were you when you started in karts?
I started at the age of 4 years old. My dad actually took a backhoe, kind of cleaned up a part of our yard.
Okay.
Made it a little dirt oval with some hay bales. I tried that out, and then once I got a good feel for the steering and the pedals, then he actually took me to a real kart track, and we had a test day.
All right. So when was your first actual competition, your actual race in a kart?
My first race was at Wheel in the little speedway sprint cars at the age of 5 years old.
Okay. And how'd you do? Do you remember?
I do remember, yeah. I want to say, I know I got last, that's for sure. I was pretty slow. And I want to say I did hit the wall in my first race, which is a great learning lesson. And actually, after like those next couple of races, I did struggle and stuff, and I kind of didn't want to race. But something just clicked again, and I wanted to start racing. And me and my dad, we just kept on digging until we found our first podium and then found our first win. And from there on out, we had some pretty good success in the speedway sprint cars.
Very cool. Very cool. So from that first, was the first races and competition, was that on dirt or was that on pavement?
It was on dirt. I did dirt for about the first 8 years of my racing career.
Okay. So I'm not certain a lot of us SCCA folks, or the younger SCCA folks who end up being with us, spend a lot of time on dirt. I'm going to
Yeah.
guess that most of them start on asphalt, still doing like the Briggs and the smaller carts, and obviously at some point in time they'll graduate up to the shifter carts or the 100cc Yamahas or whatever the case may be. But I don't know the dirt is the typical spot where the folks who get to SCCA start. Do you find that that was a great experience for you from when you finally did get to carts or to asphalt?
So yeah, I do feel that dirt actually really helped me out, especially the car control. Because in dirt, the car's basically sideways the whole time, so you're really learning how to. A lot of racing drivers understand it. Rotate the car with throttle and brake applications,
Right.
and yeah, I do. Like I said, I know the dirt really helped me. I remember my first time driving a Formula car, and I did pretty good. And then after my first time, I went and I did some kart races with my uncle. He invited me up there, let me drive his go kart. And then I think another 2 weeks later, I came back and I did the Formula car, and it was a drastic improvement from when I first started. Now, yeah, I did sleep on it a little bit for my first time in a Formula car, but I think the combination of both dirt and asphalt really helped me and shaped me to the driver that I am today.
So if anybody's ever watched a race out at Buttonwillow, you might think it's dirt racing.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you put a wheel off pretty much anywhere, it's going to put up a big old puff of dust. And we always joke about it in the announce booth that, we can look down to turn one or wherever and know that everybody made it through fine if we don't see any dust. So
Yeah.
do you find you like hanging it out there in the dirt a little bit more than maybe other people when you take those exits of, coming onto the main straight or coming through turn one?
Sometimes, yeah. It also just depends. Obviously, I like to keep my car on track and respect my car on the track. But sometimes when I do have to hang it out there on a quick qualifying lap, I'm not afraid to do so. And so, like I said, I really feel that the dirt racing has helped me with my car control and maybe, like you said, letting it hang out and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. How was the transition from dirt carts to asphalt carts for you?
It was a little tough actually when I first started. I remember my first time actually driving the Formula car, and I was hyped up about it. I was like, all right, let's go. My first time driving a Formula car. I'm really excited. And it was manual too. So I actually learned how to drive manual at the age of 9. My dad taught me. And so I was really excited to try it in like a real race car. I'm like, all right, this is it. And as I was leaving the pit lane, I was like, I've never touched asphalt in my life. Like, this is kind of scary. And thankfully, I adapted to it pretty quickly. And just in karting, like when I did asphalt karting as well, that was also a big jump too because I mean, it's like I was basically learning a whole new racing series. Actually, it's like I just started out again, and I was trying to feel like the grip and stuff like that. And they drive completely differently, but I'm thankful that I was able to adapt to them pretty quick.
I think there's a misconception that the dirt is softer than the asphalt, but on most dirt tracks, it's as hard as asphalt. It's just slicker. There's no. It's not like a soft, cushy landing if you go upside down on dirt. It is just as hard. And most dirt tracks are ovals, so there's something to hit on the walls too.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a couple of flips in the mini sprints, and something that the dirt, like compared to the pavement, what it does, like if you flip on pavement, it doesn't like the car can't really grab one of the asphalt. It just kind of skids. But on the dirt, it does like dig into the dirt, and it could create some nasty wrecks. Thankfully, I haven't been hurt too bad, but I have seen it turn out bad a couple of times.
What do you prefer more, dirt or asphalt?
So I do get this question a lot, and honestly, I respect both the dirt racers and the asphalt racers. And I'm honestly kind of neutral between both the dirt and the pavement. Obviously, I'm currently racing pavement right now, which I enjoy, and I think I'm going to stick with pavement. But I know that if someone ever offered me a dirt ride or anything like that, I would definitely take it, and I'd be very grateful to drive that, and I'd enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Have you done anything bigger than karts on the dirt, or has it been just from the karts on dirt you went to the asphalt and then to Formula F?
Yeah, it's just been the mini speedway sprints and stuff. There's little small cars.
Right. So very cool. All right. So when you decided to go and get your SCCA license, now you said Dad made you make the phone call. So what did he make you do? Did he make you figure out how to get your license, how to buy a car? What was the whole process for you? Because I love it when parents make you work a little bit for it. Now my kid would
Yeah.
say no, that's not how it's supposed to work. But what did he make you do?
So thankfully, it was actually a friend of ours, and my dad did get the car from him. But like I said, for the license, I mean, yeah, he actually told me, "Hey, you're gonna call him and you're gonna put your license together." And I was like, "Okay." And I remember I had a dirt bike at the time. I actually sold my dirt bike, I think, to pay for my license and tires and stuff. And so, I mean, I remember I'm like, "Okay, I'm only 13 years old. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I guess I'll call him."
Sure.
And you think about it, you're like, yeah, I could put it together. But when you like, you sit there on your phone and you're like, all right, I'm gonna call Vara. You're like, what do I even say at the age of 13? I'm like, I don't know, who do I even speak to? Like, what organization do I talk to?
Right.
So like I said, thankfully Vara was very nice and they were great to work with. So the lady there that kind of manages like the licensing and stuff, she was very nice with me, and she understood where I was coming from at the age of 13. But calls like ordering my helmet, I had to have a new helmet up to
Yep.
date, tires. I wasn't sure to call for tires. I wasn't sure it was supposed to go on the car. And I'm like, who do I call for tires, Dad? Like, I didn't know I'm supposed to run on this thing. And he's like, call the representative of the Formula Car Series and write down the tires. And I learned very quickly to always have a notebook and pen in hand
Okay.
because you call people and they're always busy, and it's like, oh yeah, all right, well, this is what you got to have, and you find yourself on a notebook. So it's stuff like that that's actually shaped me into the person that I am now, and it's really helped me throughout my whole racing career to understand these sort of things. And before, I was a little shy about calling people at the age of 13,
Sure.
but now after the amount of times I've done it and I've gotten used to it now, I feel comfortable, and I do still make a lot of the phone calls and stuff for my race entries, for tires and parts that need to be ordered as well.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. The lady you worked with at Vara, Jeanette, right?
Jeanette, yeah, that was her.
Yeah, she's awesome. I've done some stuff with them as well. I've done some announcing for them. Really, really good people up there. So did they make you go to their school to get your license, or did they give you time served for all of the for everything you did in carts?
So, yeah, I actually did end up having to go to Buttonwillow to go get my racing license. So I brought my Formula car that my dad got me, and it was a 2 day school. So I did the Friday test day,
Mm-hmm.
and then Saturday and Sunday were the school. And actually, there's a lot of on track time and in classroom time. I remember the day would start at 8 a.m. I'd go out on track, and right afterwards, I'd grab my water bottle real quick. I'd head back to the offices that they have at Buttonwillow, and we would talk in class. Maybe some driver coaches would focus on like mistakes that you would make, and they would kind of build you up on it. And honestly, that school was very helpful, and there are things that I learned in that class that I still use to this day, and I'm very thankful for everyone there that
Yeah.
helped me to become the driver that I am today. It was a very great school. I loved it.
So for those who might not know, VARA is the Vintage Auto Racing Association. So you were 13, so you were clearly not vintage. A lot of the people who are involved with VARA, because they're racing vintage cars, are we can call ourselves vintage. How were you accepted by all of the folks at that weekend? I'm gonna guess you were the youngest driver there, if not. Yeah, I'm gonna guess you were the youngest driver there. How were you accepted?
Absolutely. I was the youngest, and honestly, they were very nice to me. And I remember going in the classroom, and they're like, "Hey, are you the kid that drives that silver Formula Ford?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. Did I do something wrong?" And, no, you're great out there. I mean, I was trying to keep up with you, and man, you had great car control. And so it was comments like that that actually like really helped me build myself up as a driver. And so the people that are generous to me like that, I'm very thankful for them, and
Yeah.
I'm happy that they treat me like that. And I have very great memories of my racing school.
So the silver Formula Ford, that's the car you're racing today, right? Still?
It is, yeah, yeah. Still silver. I just got a fresh paint job on it this year. Thanks to my sponsor, Cars Auto Body here up in Asperia. Thankful for them. They got our cars painted and they look beautiful. I love them.
Very good. Very good. 20 minutes in, folks. 2 sponsor mentions. Love it. Good job. Keep going. Don't worry about that. I'm picking on you, but only in the best way possible, because I love it that you've been through this process. You're now, I guess, going to be, you're 18 because you're 18 or 19, just graduated from high school. And, you've already figured out a big portion of this game is to keep the sponsors happy. And I'm sure that's how you get a guy to, a body shop to help you with the paint and that kind of stuff. So we're going to talk about that process too. So when Dad made you make the phone calls to get the car, the tires, to figure out how to go to your first school, I'm going to guess Dad also made you make the phone calls to get your first sponsor, right?
Absolutely, yeah, he did.
Okay. So tell me about that. What was that like the first time, and how old were you when you made that first phone call?
So my first sponsor, I want to say I was about 12 years old, and I was talking to my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, we need some sponsors. I want to move up to a new series here at Wheel, still in the high desert, and I want to move up a rank, and I want to start racing that class. He's like, well, it's a little bit more expensive, so you have to get some sponsors. And I would try to help out as much as I can with the cost, but at the age of 12, 13 years old, I didn't have that much money.
Why not? No, I'm just kidding.
And so you'd be like, yeah, you could go get some sponsors, but some tips for you are just dress nice, and you could just talk to him and be very polite. And I was like, okay, do you have anyone in mind? He's like, just contact people here in the high desert, and I mean, you got to create a resume and tell them who you are and what you want and what your goal is. And so I was like, okay. I mean, I remember my first sponsorship proposal ended up like an essay, and it was long too. I mean, I was at one point I was explaining how like almost every race went.
Right.
And so he's like, yeah, you can't do that. So he helped me create a sponsorship proposal, which turned out very nice. And I actually write my own now. And again, it's experience like that that's helped me to write my own proposals. And I remember I was going to email him, and my dad's like, no, you can't email people. Why not, Dad? It's just easy. That's the problem. It's easy. You can't email people. You got to go in person, dress nice, wear a team shirt or wear a collared shirt, and just dress nice and ask him to speak to the owner of the business. And if he's not there, ask to leave a message. And so I remember I went to a couple businesses. I got turned down a couple times, and it was actually harder than I thought.
Yeah.
But again, it's good. It shaped me to who I am today. And I remember I went somewhere and the person wasn't there. So I actually went back the next day, and he's like, yeah, well, we'll be in touch throughout email. And so, I was like, okay, he just gave me the runaround. Everyone says that they're just going to email me. And that next day, I actually got an email from him. He said, I will sponsor you with X amount. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I remember I read that email like twice, and eyes were wide open, like, holy cow, I got my first sponsor. And I called my dad. He didn't answer, so I called him about another 3 more times. He's like, hey, son, I'm in a meeting. What's up? And I'm like, Dad, I got my first sponsor. And so he stepped out of the room real quick. We talked a little bit, and he's like, that's great. We'll talk more about it when I get home. And like I said, he was super excited for me.
Yeah.
And ever since then, like I said, I've learned how to talk to sponsors now, and I've been able to build off of things in the past that they were good at the time, but like I said, I need to build up into new stuff. Now I'm doing a new racing series as well.
All right, so I'm gonna guess that the cute and adorable factor when you walk in at age 12 helps get the discussion started. Because if I'm a business owner and I see a 12-year-old kid walk through my door and is kind of being entrepreneurial and polite and like, I'm gonna sit down and maybe talk with them for a little bit. At least that gets the door opened.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that certainly is helpful. And now, still cute and adorable, don't get me wrong, but you're 18, 19. Now people see you come through the door. They might kind of suspect you're looking for something. Is it harder now to get those first discussions going than it was when you were 12?
So it does have some give and takes to it. And just to clarify you, I am 16.
Oh, 16?
But
wait a second.
Yeah,
you graduated from high school at 16?
I did. So I ended up skipping 6th grade, actually.
Wow.
Went from 5th into 7th. And then my junior year, so my 11th grade in high school, or my 11th year, I'm sorry, my 11th year in high school, I decided to take college classes as well, so dual enrollment. that I could graduate early. So I graduated at the age of 16. I actually just graduated in June this year.
Very cool. Congratulations on that. So,
Thank you.
so
I appreciate that.
you've got just a great story. I mean, that's got to also be helpful to get that door opened for you.
Yeah, definitely. In regards to your question, it was easier when I was younger for sure. Because like you said, you see a little 12-year-old kid walking around, okay, and you talk to him a little bit, and sometimes they'd be interested, and sometimes they wouldn't. And
Yeah.
so when they would be interested, it was great. I got sponsorship, and yeah, even now it is a little bit harder, because again, I'm not that little kid, but something that the pros and cons to it. The pro is that I've tried getting my own sponsors now for the past 4 years, so I've learned from experience now, and I took a public speaking class at my college,
Right.
and so my speaking is better. My proposals they've grown as well, and just my overall um, view, if you will, for sponsorships, the way people look at me has grown as well.
So, what does your proposal look like? Is it a paper? Is it a sponsored deck? Do you have a video that you show people? What have you put together that you have found to be successful up to this point?
So yeah, I've tried a couple of different things over the last couple of years, and I do have a special folder inside my phone where if anyone wants to see some like clips or videos, anything like that, I do have some photos of like my old racing, my new Formula cars, some really cool photos, and my proposal. And I still kind of walk in the same way that I used to with my team shirt, my button up, and I walked in with a little folder, like a little briefcase,
Hmm.
and I'll have my sponsorship proposal in it. And what it looks like is it kind of states a little bit about myself. Uh, at the time back then, it was about my schooling,
Right.
and then it goes into kind of the achievements and accomplishments that I have from my first starter at the age of 2015, all the way. I'm sorry, 2013, all the way until the current actually. And like I said, it has all my achievements, anything that I took a big step in racing, like my racing license and stuff like that. And it's just some bullet points of that. At the bottom, I'll include what I would like. And honestly, I'm very grateful for any sponsor to give me. It always helps. And like I said, at age 16, it does help.
Sure.
And it just includes what my overall goal, too, is in racing as well.
So, there's something new you're going to have to add to that sponsor deck.
Mm-hmm.
A link to this podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. No, I'm serious though. This type of situation, it's really great because people can get to know you a little bit, and they can hear your story, and they may not watch the whole thing, but if they get a little bit into it, they may find themselves compelled to keep watching. So that's pretty cool. So how did you do? How many races with Vara did you do before you did your first SCCA race?
So I got my license. I did 2 races in 2022, and then I did 1 in 2023, and then in the middle of 2023, that's when I transitioned into the Formula Ford the Series
Right.
championship with SCCA.
Cool. So Vara, it's vintage racing. So folks who know vintage racing know that while it's still racing, and there are some pretty fast drivers often in the vintage racing, it's a little different intensity than an SCCA race because there's an expectation in vintage racing that you're not going to touch any other car on the racetrack.
Yeah, definitely.
What was that transition for you to go from vintage to SCCA?
Well, so you're right. There is a big jump between those two for the transitions, and I mean I felt comfortable with it. I don't know if my dad did because I know the racing did get a little bit more, like you said, intense and crazy.
Sure.
But at the age of 16, I feel like I have like the fire in me, and I just I want to go up there. I want to take it up to the front. And so, like you said, in vintage racing, you don't want to touch any cars, and you still don't with SCCA, but the intensity is definitely a little bit higher, and so things can sometimes get a little closer, and the battles get a little bit tougher and closer as well. But honestly, it's been really good so far, and thankfully I haven't wrecked a car or anything like that. So
Right.
I'm very thankful for that.
So, and the other thing that's that helps, I think, make it also is because you're open wheel racing. You know, the idea of contact is so much more high risk with open wheel racing than it is with tin tops and sports racers and that kind of stuff. Because, you know, you even in all open wheel racing, touching wheels can end up real bad. So I think that probably also kind of helped with that type of a transition between the two series. Now, we first met, and I don't remember which race it was. I think it was the fall of 23.
Yeah.
And it was probably either the October or the November race at Buttonwillow. And there's a little section at Buttonwillow where all the workers get together and set up their motorhomes, and they do a little bonfire on the weekends often, and we sit around the fire and we share stories and make up stories and you know, do a little bit of adult beverages and a little bit of lying here and there and have a good time and everything. So I'm at the little bonfire, and I decide it's time to go back to the worker village where I stay when I'm at the racetrack. But I see, you know, and usually by 10 or 11 o'clock at night, everyone's done. You know, everyone's either gone back to their hotel or they're in their motorhomes, snug in their beds for the evening. And I come around the corner, and there is a paddock spot lit up like it's daylight, and lots of stuff going on. And I'm like, oh boy, someone's either having a good party or they're thrashing on a race car. So I turn the corner and I stop and get out. And it's you and your family, and you've got, I think you've got a couple of trailers at the racetrack and tents, and everything's lit up, and you guys were working hard on the cars still at 10 or 11 o'clock on a Saturday night. So we popped out, we started talking. I think you were chasing an electrical gremlin at that point in time, and you had mentioned how I think you didn't get to the end of the race on Saturday. And I started talking, and that's when I met you and your family, and I had a great time. I think we talked for almost a half hour, and you all bribed me with a diet soda, which thank you very much. I appreciate that. And the right diet soda, by the way. If you want to know what that is, check out the show notes. And by the way, you don't have to bribe me with a diet Dr. Pepper to get on the show. You can get on the show even without that. But nonetheless, so we're sitting and we're having a chat and everything, and just I had a real good time talking with you and your family, and seeing everybody working on the cars. But you guys weren't giving up on a Saturday night to try to go out there on Sunday and get the win, right?
Yeah, no, like you said, we had that electrical problem, so we were fishing for that problem, and the day was actually going really good on Saturday, and yeah, we got bit by the electrical bug. Had to retire the car, unfortunately, and yeah, that night we came in and we just started working on the car. We weren't sure what it was, so we were just looking at every little bit on that car.
And you apparently found it, because on Sunday you went out and won the race.
Yeah, it ended up being our distributor, so the ignition system. It ended up going bad, and so we didn't want to take any chances, though, just to be 100%. So we even cut my tack off. I didn't have any RPM or anything like that. No extra wiring, nothing else. And so thankfully we did find the problem. It was just a distributor. And yeah, Saturday went really well. That's actually when I got my first Cow Club and actual SCCA win as well in the Formula Fords.
Right. And since then, you've been running up front most race weekends I've seen you, and with a bunch of pretty seasoned Formula Ford drivers. And what do the old guys think when they got to start figuring out how to deal with you?
Well, I know that they're very nice to me, and they compliment me a lot.
Yeah.
And honestly, the series that I'm running with, it's very nice. Formula Ford, the series, actually what they do is they combine both the San Francisco region and the Cal Club region all into a mixture of an 8-race weekend championship. So we have a total of 16 races. And honestly, it creates a great field because you get some of the SoCal guys and some of the NorCal guys, and they've been very welcoming and very generous as well. And so we're very thankful to have this kind of series to run with here on the West Coast.
Now, are you running the full series this year?
I am, yes. So we're currently leading the championship right now, and we're hoping to make it to the rest of the races this year.
Do they count all 16 races, or do they count the best 10 races? How do they do it in that point series?
I believe in the points, what he does, what our representative does, he keeps track of all the points. We have all 16 races, and then I believe he has 2 drop races.
Got it. Okay.
Which will have our 2 worst finishes.
Right. So you got to, if it's a tight series and a lot of guys do the whole thing, you pretty much got to do all the weekends to be up there for the championship.
Definitely, yeah. You have to be a lot of the race weekends, and you have to reliability on the cars to be good, which I'm very thankful that we put a lot of focus on that this year. And yeah, you just gotta be on top of it too with speed as well.
So it's not just you in the family; it's your uncle also, right? Who's racing?
So my uncle was racing. He did the first couple races at the start of the year.
Okay.
But now it's my little brother Stevie who actually just got his license this year, and he's using my uncle's car currently.
Okay.
And so he's been running really good too. And so we just have a really good team so far. I'm very thankful for that.
So tell us a little bit about the family rivalry. When your uncle's out there, how upset is he when you beat him?
Uh-huh. So we come in and he's like, "Man, Ricky, you were just on it." I was like, "Thanks, Uncle Rob," and we'll talk a little bit about it. We'll look at the data, and he's like, "No, something's wrong with my car. There's no way you're carrying like this much more speed than me, or there's no way you're able to keep up this sort of pace." And honestly, he's just blown away by it, and it's just like I said, it's really nice to have like the whole family thing and being able to crack jokes and stuff like that, and working actually with one another in
Right.
unison. It's just it's a lot of fun, and I'm very grateful to have a family like this and supporters like this that come to the races as well.
Yeah. So and with your brother, how quick is he? Is he going to be giving you a hard time for the front of these races pretty quick?
Yeah, he already is.
How much does that suck?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The drive home is a lot of fun. No, his first race at Buttonwillow, he was super fast. He ended up running third on his first Saturday race, and on Sunday, I went out there and qualifying, and I was going pretty good. And my dad, he had the pit board out, and it said 29 P2. It's like, P2, what? So I gave it one more hard push lap, and I came in the pits. And my dad's still over there with the pit board, and my uncle, he comes over to me, and I was like, "How am I P2? How's someone quicker than me? I mean, yesterday we were really good in the qualifying." And he's like, "It's your brother. He had pole position for a little bit." And I was like, "Whoa!" But thankfully, that last push off I did before I came in, they gave me pole position, and my brother qualified second. So right off the bat of the first weekend, he was really quick. And at our last, I'm sorry, not Buttonwillow, at our last Laguna Seca race, actually, he actually won it on Saturday, and on Sunday I couldn't let him win the second day, so I had to go back, and on Sunday I won it. But what was really cool is we both finished 1-2 on both days to each other, and in qualifying I qualified pole both days, and he qualified second. So he definitely kept me on my toes for sure. He's been doing really good, and it's super cool to see that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so JJ Walker, he's in the chat. He says, Ricky is an amazing young man. The way he took the initiative at the age of 13 to get his racing license. If I owned a business, he'd be an easy hire for me. No brainer. Awesome interview. Well, thank you for that. Michelle Kuhlman, Ricky, way to go, with a bunch of hearts. So I know how many people are watching, and I know how many people have hit the like button. So all those who are watching, smash that like button. Subscribe, because we interview a lot of really cool people on here, not just Ricky. But we'd love to have you subscribe and hit that like button. So, what's your brother's name?
Oh, his name is Stevie.
Stevie. Has Stevie beaten you yet?
Just on that one Laguna Seca race when he won it.
Okay, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
A little trash talking between the two of you?
My dad tries to keep that to a minimum.
Oh, come on, Dad.
Huh?
I said, come on, Dad. That's the fun part.
Yeah. We like to play around with each other. And actually, what we call our trailer is the Bashmobile. And the reason why we call it the Bashmobile is because at night, we actually don't go to a hotel. We sleep on the top deck of our trailer. When we unload all the cars, we lay up mattresses and a couple sleeping bags up there, so we sleep up there. And that's when the bashing starts.
Nice.
And the bashing is, man, you can't mess up that day, because it's, hey, dude, you know you locked it up pretty hard in turn one, and start turning, you look at him over the next bend, and you're like, man, my tires are cold. Just lay off me a little bit, you know. And so, like I say, it's just a little bit of playful banter, but
Yeah.
honestly, it makes the weekend that much better, especially
Sure.
the whole family there.
Sure. Absolutely. So what's the future? Where do you want to take all of this? Do you have aspirations to go to a different series and to maybe do something on a more full-time basis with this stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, a lot of it relies on funding and how we're
Sure.
currently doing this year. I'm not 100% sure what's in the making for next year, but I know that I definitely want to keep on racing, possibly move up a step. And honestly, my main goal is to eventually make it to a professional racing series like IndyCar. That would be just amazing. But obviously, it takes a lot of time and money. But I know I'm enjoying it every step of the way so far.
Cool. Now, your brother's in the chat now. Let him know that we'll get him on the show somewhere. Well, he's listening, so we'll get you on the show somewhere down the road, Stevie, and we'll do another episode for sure.
We love that.
When you say you want to go up to the next level, what for you would that be? What do you see as the next level?
I would like to keep it within the open racing or open wheel series. Where that may be, I moved from SCCA into a different venue.
Okay.
But I know it's something that might be. It's going to be a little bit faster, hopefully. Might have some wings on the car here, hopefully. But like I say, it all depends on how this year goes and how next year's looking as well. But either way, I'll be very excited to run whatever I'm driving.
Sure. Any thoughts on trying to do an SCCA national championship run and see how you could do at the runoffs?
Yeah, that's been in the back of my mind. I know that's something that I would look forward to, is going to the runoffs one day, hopefully. And I know they have some really cool tracks that they run for that. I want to say this past couple of years ago, it was Indy, and so that was insane. I mean, to be able to drive that would just it'd be through the roof. I'd be so excited, and hopefully we can do the runoffs someday, and I hope we have some good success there as well.
There's been no announcements or anything, but I do know that Indy is something that a lot of people would love to go and do again. We're at Road America this year and next year. They have not decided or have not announced. Maybe they have decided. They haven't told me, which would not surprise me at all. But they have not announced yet who is going to be the host of the runoffs for I guess that would be 26 and 27 yet. So, but that would be pretty cool if we got to go back to Indy for that. So, a lot of good opportunities there as well. So do you have anything lined up for a step up yet, or is that still something you're working on now?
Still something that we got working. We got some things up in the air, but nothing's indefinite yet.
Okay. So let's go run through the sponsor list one more time here. Who are all the folks you need to thank?
I got to thank Absolute Roofing. They've helped me tremendously throughout my racing career. Collision Auto Body Repair Specialists here in Asperia at the High Desert. They've helped us too. Again, they're the ones that paint the cars and our trailer as well. So they keep us looking good. I thank them a lot. And Jayco Industries, they help us with a lot of paneling, and they supply some of our metal and stuff too that we need. And Crow Safety Gear as well. They supply me some of my racing gear, and I can't thank them enough as well. They've been with me actually since my sprint car days, so thank you to Crow Safety Gear.
Very cool. Sarah Jeffs in the chat, congrats, Ricky and Simpson Motorsports. So proud of you all and your hard work. Can't wait to see the next driver interview. What a great platform. Thanks. Appreciate that. So now let's say we've got people watching, and this will be on the YouTube forever. So, and they see this and say, "Hey, this Ricky Simpson kid, I'm impressed. I wanna be involved. I wanna help sponsor in some way. How do we get involved? How do we get in contact with you, so that you can make all of that happen?"
Something that I do often look at frequently is my Instagram.
Sure.
I'm not sure if there's any way I'm able to maybe post that on this channel.
Yeah, so just tell us what it is, and then I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I just sent that to you afterwards, you said?
No, just let's talk about it now, and then I will put it in the show notes as well.
Okay, yeah. So my Instagram, it's Ricky Simpson 2959, I believe. It'll have my Formula Ford on it with it's an open account, so you could look at all my posts and stuff. And feel free to message me or follow me. I'd be very excited to talk to whoever wants to message me.
Cool. And we'll verify that it is the right screen name, and I'll put that in the show notes. So, and Witten Racing, I sponsor him with my love and support.
Yeah, that's my girlfriend.
Oh, well, got to have the girlfriend on the chat. That's awesome. That's awesome. Anything else? Any other thoughts before we go? I mean, this has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed having you on.
Absolutely, I've enjoyed it as well, and I appreciate you having me, Brian, and thank you for doing this. I really feel that it exposes SCCA, and it makes it so much better. And I'm very excited I got to do this interview with you. Like you said, we've been planning this forever, and so I'm super thankful that we got to have this interview. And thank you to all the sponsors too that help make this possible.
I appreciate that. Like I said at the top of the show, we've got a brand new presenting sponsor for the show that is going to come on board, if not next week, probably the week after. I'm really excited about everything that we're going to be able to do because they're helping us out here, and they're also actually sponsoring the SCCA live stream, not the SCCA. I apologize. The Cal Club races, the live stream for the Cal Club races, which we do here on the Racing Network as well. So really, really happy to have them on board, and we'll be talking with them a bunch in the near future. Ricky, thank you. I appreciate it, and we'll keep in touch. I'll see you probably in October out at the racetrack, and good luck with everything you got going on.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Inside the SCCA. Did you like what you hear? Subscribe to the Racing Wire Podcast Network so you won't miss any episodes. Also, subscribe to the Racing Network here on YouTube. It would also be great if you leave a comment, especially if it's a good one. If it's not a good one, leave it on someone else's page. On Twitter, we are at Racing Wire Info. There's a new Inside the SCCA every week. I'm Brian Belansky. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. Stay safe and go play with cars.
I'm Abby Shear, and when I'm on my way to an autocross, I listen to the Inside the SCCA podcast.
Inside the SCCA is a presentation of the Racing Wire Podcast Network and Rule 15 Productions. This podcast is not affiliated with, endorsed, or sponsored by the Sports Car Club of America. The views expressed within are those of the host and our guests, and not that of the SCCA.